This video looks at a close pass on Ingham Avenue approaching the roundabout at First Avenue on the 8th of April 2020. And this happened at 20 past 9 in the morning. Just ignore the timestamps on the video. The cameras hadn't been changed from daylight saving. What we're going to do first is just have a look at the close pass from the front and rear, and then we're going to have a look at some line markings on the road and some measurements from those line markings to try and work out whether this close pass was within 1 metre or not.
ZJQ246.
Ingham Avenue might look like a particularly wide road, and you might be wondering why I wasn't riding over against the curb. Well, the simple reason for that is that left-hand part of the road is not actually a lane, it's for buses. It's a bus parking area. There's actually a bus stop where this bus is parked up. I went past the following day and took this photo, and normally there's buses parked here servicing Dom Ramey College or just parking here for whatever reason, driver having a break, etc. And what happens is the bus bay pinches out as you get to the roundabout, and what you don't want to be doing is riding in the bus lane or bus bay or parking bay, whatever you want to call it, and then have to swerve out at the last moment to go into the roundabout. I think it's much safer to stick to your line in the lane and go into the roundabout without having to duck into the lane and be merging into traffic coming behind you. And you can see here what I've done is I've just added some yellow dotted lines in between the paint blobs to make it a lot clearer exactly where this delineation is between the bus bay and the road. If we go back and have a look at the rear camera footage, if you look carefully you can see the faded paint blobs. They are quite clear if you actually go to the road and stand there, but you should be able to see them very faintly in this clip. And now comes the fun part. Let's see if we can calculate or measure exactly or whether the car passed within 1 metre or not. And so what I've done here is you can see in the middle of the road there's obviously double white lines, and on the right hand side I've marked up where the paint lines are. I've gone and had a look at what the width of this particular Honda is, and it's a standard size, mid-size car, 1760 millimeters across the body. You could add maybe 5 centimeters each side for the mirrors, but let's just call it 1760 because that's what the diagram's got. And exactly where did the overtake happen? Well, if we have a look at some still photos from the front and rear, you can see it really happened in between on the double white lines, and pretty much in between where the cat's eyes are, the first cat's eyes and the second cat's eyes. Now, I've marked up this photo to show the first set of cat's eyes and the second set of cat's eyes. You can call them point 1 and point 2. And what I've done is I've taken measurements at 5 places along this road. I've gone further back down the road past the bus stop from where we're looking in this photo, and measured at 3 points further back, and the road was 340, 300 and 270 millimeters wide. And then I got to point 1 and it was 2600 millimeters or 2.6 meters, and the same at point 2. And what I've done is I've measured from the far right hand edge of the cat's eyes as we're looking at them to the faded paint blobs. Now if we then I also measured across the cat's eyes as well, and edge to edge it was about 500 millimeters. Now if we go and have a look at this nice diagram that I've put together, we're measuring from what would you call it, the inside edge of the cat's eyes to the faded paint blobs on the side of the road. So it's 2600 millimeters where the overtake took place. We then add the car in at 1760 millimeters, assuming that they didn't actually hit the cat's eyes. And from looking at the video, it seems pretty clear that the driver actually stayed on the inside of the cat's eyes. If they'd gone outside, you could add another 500 millimeters, but I don't believe that's the case. I've measured across my handlebars, they're 640 millimeters. So it's pretty clear that when you've got an 840 millimeter wide gap and you've got a 640 millimeter wide bicycle, that there's no way mathematically you can have a 1 meter gap between the bicycle and the edge of the vehicle. And that's not taking into account the wing mirrors sticking out, which under the legislation are the furthest edge of the car. So this would put this pass well within 1 metre. I don't think there's any way of getting around that. Even if they went round the other side of the cat's eyes and you added 500 millimetres, they'd still be within 1 metre. What outcome am I seeking here? Well, I don't give a bugger if the driver gets fined or they lose some points. That's not my problem. I'm not here to try and contribute money to the New South Wales State Treasury. But what I would like is the driver to be contacted and educated on rules 144-1 and 144-2 about keeping a safe distance when passing a bicycle rider, and also the fact that they are allowed to cross the double white lines when overtaking a bicycle rider. I do wonder here whether they weren't aware of that rule and they thought they had to stay within the double white lines and therefore ended up giving me a close pass. Or of course the other alternative is they're coming up to a roundabout, there's an island in the middle of the road, and they were trying to avoid smacking into the roundabout just after they overtook. Well, in that case, I mean, the rule does say you're only supposed to do this when it's safe to do so. So maybe they need to be reminded about only overtaking when it's safe to do so. That's my bit. I'm done.